Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Andrew McKenzie and I'll be your host today. And welcome to today's webinar, New Features on Office 365. Joining me today is my colleague, Travis. Afternoon all. And we're excited. We've got a lot of interest in this webinar. Seems a really popular topic. So we're looking forward to sharing some things with you any moment now. But just before we do, just some housekeeping for the webinar. You'll notice that we will be recording this session today. So that means you'll be able to watch it later after you've seen it already. You can watch it a second time if you feel inclined, or you can even share that recording with one of your colleagues. So what we'll do is send you out a link to our YouTube channel, which you can then pass that on to others who might be interested in your organisation. Also, a really important part with the huge numbers that we've got on this webinar today, I'm sure there'll be lots of questions. So you'll see in your webinar panel to your right that there is a section there that you can ask a question. You can ask a question at any time throughout the webinar. What we will do, however, is we will answer these questions at the end of the session. So please, as you feel inclined, throw those questions in as we go and we'll review them when we get to the end of the session. Now, Office 365 is a really exciting thing in the marketplace. Professional Advantage, people like Travis with me and the rest of the team, we work with customers to help them migrate to Office 365, but also to get the best out of the platform because there's so much to it and there's still a lot of learning going in the community around what Office 365 really is and what it can do for you. You know, there's still a lot of people out there that think that Office 365 is just the Office applications. Well, it can be that, but it's a lot more than that. So today was really about helping people understand some of the cooler things and the newer things. I know a lot of people have already maybe made the leap to the Office client subscription. They might be using email. They might even be using Skype or SharePoint to some degree. But we wanted to take you through some of the other features and functions that are a little bit newer in the platform. So today we're going to be covering groups for Office 365. We're going to be talking about Planner, Power Apps and Flow, and also Power BI. And so they're the four things today that we're going to follow on, and depending on your feedback at the end of this webinar, we'll also dive into future sessions that might cover different features in more detail. So I'm just hosting today. I'm going to hand over now to my colleague Travis Whitehouse. Now Travis is one of our strategists who helps customers understand how they can use the platform. Travis also helps configure and implement solutions for our customers, and most importantly helps out the understanding of the adoption path once these tools are in place and the optimization path of that to make sure the right fit for each customer, because every customer is different. So Travis, at this point I'm going to hand over to you.
Okay, thank you Andrew. So today I really want to focus on some of the great new functionality that Microsoft has brought to the Office 365 platform. And I think we just need to take a step back to understand, well, where's Microsoft coming from? Their current vision is really about empowering every person and every organisation to be more productive. And so we see this DNA running through everything that they do. So first off, I want to talk about groups for Office 365. Now, it's called the Intelligent Fabric. And I think you'll understand over the next 40 minutes why. It underlines everything that Microsoft are doing going forward, and it's also the glue that's beginning to hold it all together. In a nutshell, Groups for Office 365 is really about a modern way to collaborate. Now we have four key pieces to the puzzle at the moment, and they're continually adding more. First of all, we have these things called conversations. Now on one level you could say these conversations are just a shared mail inbox, but at another level we're seeing the merging of social tools like at mentions and likes and things like that into our email streams, and so that's where conversations fits in. We also have a calendar. Now what's interesting for people who used to use who are used to using SharePoint calendars, we often find that these are limited in some ways. What's really nice about these group calendars is that they're a full-fledged Exchange calendar. We're able to integrate a lot better with them. Now, more and more we're seeing that OneNote is being used as a powerful tool to capture unstructured information. Because of the use of co-authoring, we're able to see people taking meeting notes together at the same time without issues. And so that's the third piece. And then finally, we have files. Think of files as your as your OneDrive document library for the group. It's a secure, robust place to keep all your files together. You get all the power that comes from SharePoint document libraries around version control, workflows, and co-authoring, but you get to see them in the context of the group. Now, what's truly great about these groups is that we get to access them in many different ways. We get to access them how we feel safe. So maybe for some people, that's the Outlook client. They're used to using email. It's their number one tool. It's great. We're able to get to all this group information directly from that. We're also able to get to it through the browser. So for people who are more comfortable there, that works. And then finally, we have apps for all the major phone platforms that, again, give us that same access to all the information. So you're never really too many steps away from your group. One of the other things that the groups does for us is that it breaks down the barriers for us getting work done. We don't have to go through IT in order to create a new group. And yet the content that's stored in these things stays within our organisation. So it's still controlled by our organisation. We don't have to worry about people going out and using some shadow IT tools. So these groups can be used for all sorts of different reasons, from simply creating a virtual team, or maybe using it to run mini projects, or maybe set up an idea and innovation hub. The use of them is really quite endless. But I think we've had enough words. I think we should really just jump right in. And I'm just going to go to my Office 365 portal homepage. Today I'm Sarah. And what you see here is all the applications that I have in my Office 365 stack. Now, if you look really, really closely to all these tiles, you're not going to see groups, which can be a little bit confusing for some people. That's, again, because groups are really built into the underlying fabric of everything. So if I was to go into my Mail, for example, and I've just clicked my Mail tile, this is going to open up my Outlook. And what we'll see off to the left is a listing of all the groups that I'm a member of. If I wanted to, say, work on my product launch, I'm just going into that group. And what this is doing is bringing back all the conversations or all the communications that happen within this group. If I was to click on an example here, it really just looks like a threaded email string. And in fact, that's what we're doing. When we start a new conversation, like I've clicked here, we see over in the area pane that I'm sending something to product launch, which is the name of my group. I'm then able to type in my message. Maybe I would like to attach a document for everyone to share, or to collaborate on. I'm going to say attach. By default, it's going to look at my OneDrive because maybe it thinks that I've been working on a personal file there. But in this particular instance, I'm going to upload something from my computer itself. And I get to say what type of attachment do I want to make it. I'm going to say a cloud attachment, and that's going to take that file and store it in our files document library. So we have our file here. Maybe I would like to specifically call out a colleague to have a look at this. So I'm going to do an @mention_Tony. Please confirm that all these specifications are correct. Now when I hit send, we can immediately see off to the side here in our conversation stream that yes, this message is here, and I have the ability to reply to it. Other people can come in and reply to it. But that @mention_Tony has done something interesting. It's gone grey with the little @ symbol in front of it. When I click on it, this is now going to show me the context of my relationship with with Tony. It gives me a little contact card pulling some user profile information. Maybe we can see where he is in the organisation. And if I keep scrolling down, I can see other pieces of correspondence that I've had with him recently, maybe other files we've worked on together, or other events. So again, this is one of these quick productivity winners that allow us to work faster and smarter. Moving along, we said that the second piece was the calendar, so I'm quickly going to click on calendar. And what I can see here is, in blue is my personal calendar, and in aqua is my launch calendar. Now if I just quickly go to the monthly view, I can see in my daily agenda summary items from my personal calendar, but also items from the group calendar. Now this will flow through to my phone as well, so that when I'm seeing what's on next, I'm able to see all these calendars as if they're first-class things. Okay, I just want to move on to files now. And for those people who haven't seen the new document libraries in SharePoint, this is an example of them, where we have the richness of being in a group coupled with the ability to store documents, to run workflows on documents, to have version control, co-collaboration, all these sort of things on our documents. And in fact, by right-clicking on them, I can, maybe I would like to pin it to the top of our document library because this is critical to the group. We're able to highlight different pieces of information, but all our documents are here in, I think that's quite strong.
So Travis, just a quick question on that. We've got these files in this group. How does it work in terms of permissions, in terms of people being able to access that content?
Yeah, that's a great question. Thanks, Andrew. When we created our group, we decided to make the group a public group or a private group. Now, when we create public groups, anyone can join those groups. So when someone joins the group, they'll have access to all this content here.
And another quick question while I've got you. There was a little, when you were back in the first view of the groups there in the mail view, there was a little search. I noticed up top left it said search product launch. Is there a search function that allows you to search across all groups, or is it just within groups?
So at this stage, it's just searching within groups.
Yep.
But one of the things that's nice about what's happening with the groups at the moment is that the functionality is growing month by month. And in fact, why don't we talk about that now, is that Microsoft have really moved away from the idea of giving us a big functional release every 3 years. They now have a quick release philosophy, which is meaning we're able to take advantage of all these productivity wins a lot sooner. For example, just last week, we enabled external access to groups, so people outside your organisation can send in emails to that conversations list, be part of that whole chain, but also have access to that file content. Now, users haven't had to configure anything there. As soon as they invite someone to join, Office 365 handles all the security permissions and everything like that. Now, these things listed here on the screen are just examples of what functionality is currently underway in development.
Yeah, it's pretty neat. I've noticed it changing. You know, I've been experimenting a little bit with different things there, and all of a sudden you see a different navigation option on there and a different tool that's integrated with. I like the ongoing evolution of the product. It's pretty nice.
Yeah, it's great stuff. Now, what's interesting about groups was that, yes, it had calendars and it had documents, but it was missing a piece. It was missing a work management piece. It was missing what do you do with tasks. And that's where Planner comes in. Planner is all about helping make your team more organised. It borrows concepts from Kanban and Scrum in order to allow you within a few clicks to be up and running. The way it works is that each plan gets its own board, and you can then organise tasks into buckets. You can then categorise these tasks. You can assign them to people, swap them between categories. You can give extra information around the task more than just the actual name itself. And of course, it's integrated with groups, so all those benefits we get from groups we can bring into Planner. So that file that I sent to the group earlier, I can add as a Planner task for Tony to review. So let's just jump into Planner now. I'm going to go there from the app launcher up the top. I'm just going to hit Planner. I could have hit Planner in the group, but I've gone up the top to the Planner because I wanted to go to the Planner Hub first. And the Planner Hub is personalised for me so that I can follow certain plans. And when I follow those plans, I get this great little bubble up of information about how many tasks are underway, how many we've completed, where it's all up to. So I'm just going to click into that same product launch plan. And what we'll see here is a really nice interface that has a whole lot of tasks already assigned out to people.
Now, Travis, would it be fair to say there could be some people on the call that might think this looks like something familiar to them?
Yes, it could be. I'm not going to say that it's Trello, but for people who have used tools like Trello, it's very similar. But I think for people who use a whole lot of post-it notes on a wall, you're going to gain a lot of value out of converting that into this digital space just because of what we're able to do. When you've got post-it notes on a wall, you're often using your phone to take pictures in order to store versions if you want to move things around. We're able to move things around quite easily by just saying, I don't want to group all these tasks by buckets. I maybe want to see what's in progress, what hasn't started yet, and what's complete. This is a lot harder to do if you've got it on post-it notes on a wall. But let me just go back to the buckets and show you how easy it is to add a task.
So these little tasks are a mix of all different types of things, right, Travis? So
yeah.
I can see some have documents. I think I've seen some before that have been checklists.
Yep. Yeah, so that's all part of when we create a task. So say we wanted to do a Twitter review. I'm just going to hit enter, and that has created our task. But really, that doesn't give people enough information about what we actually want to do with this task. So whenever I click on a task, it takes us to what I like to call the back of the card, where I could go in and add a checklist where I want to log in, search. I could have any number of things there. Maybe I would like to add a brief description to this task. Again, maybe I would like to add an attachment. So I could say upload a file from my computer, or maybe I want to grab that email attachment that we added around that specification document. Within a few clicks, that's all been added. Now, because this is grouped, we get our comment section, which is really our conversations. So it links directly back into our group that way. You'll notice that...
Does that mean, Travis, sorry, if someone's posted a conversation in the groups interface, that'll appear on the back of the card now?
Correct.
That's pretty neat.
Yeah, it's not too bad. You'll notice that there's no save button anywhere here because as we're doing things, they're automatically saved. Maybe I would like to also flag. So as soon as I hit close, we'll now see that this card here has got a lot larger, but by default it's chosen a Word document as what to show. I think I'd actually rather show the checklist, so I'm just going to tick that, and we can now see that card is like that. But we forgot to assign it to someone. That's okay. I can click on a person up the top there and drag it down, and that task has now been assigned to Alex. So tasks, it's really quite easy. I can click and drag this to a new bucket if I wanted to. But having all our tasks there is one thing. What we really want to do is get some insights into what's being done, what's still to do, and what's been complete. So we can see here that, look, Alex has got 5 tasks and he hasn't started half of them. Maybe we need to reassign them to someone. So I'm able to click on Alex, which is then going to filter all his tasks over the side here, and we'll see our new task we created earlier today. And I'm going to say, look, maybe I should give this to Anne instead. Close that. That's now gone, and Anne has that extra task added to her.
Now, a neat thing that I'm aware of too, Travis, is when you've reassigned that task, I believe that gets no conversation.
It does. Everything gets notified in the group conversation.
So they're really doing this nice job of tying this all together as a digital workplace, connected, seamless experience.
Exactly. And you can see up the top here we have our notebook that then goes to conversations, calendar, files. You know, it's that familiar thing.
Now, I believe there's one little downside, which I'm sure will shift but am I right in thinking I can only assign a task to one person and not to multiple people?
Correct. At this stage, it's really about having that single use. So what it might make more sense to do in that instance is to not actually assign it to anyone, to actually have that written in the description if you want to have it for a group.
I think that's one of the challenges, right? Trying to work out, hey, is this the right tool for me or not?
And that's exactly it. Because we now have almost very similar tools that can do the same thing. You could have tasks in your Outlook, you could have tasks in the SharePoint task list, maybe you've got tasks in Planner, maybe using Project Online for your tasks. Now, while they all don't join together, there may be certain instances where one makes more sense than the other. And that's part of what we do here at PA, is that we help customers find out where they're going to get the most benefit from these tools.
Yeah, it's not always a one-size-fits-all. And, you know, certain ways you work will find different solutions are required, and sometimes multiple solutions. And that's what really it's about, working out the right tool to use, not just using a tool because it is there.
Correct. So I want to move on to a very exciting area, and that's to do with Power Apps. Now, Power Apps is a new creation tool that lets organisations and really business users rapidly develop mobile apps that can allow you to grab data from your on-premise systems, maybe grab data from some cloud services like Salesforce or Dropbox or Slack or Twitter or Trello. The list goes on and on. Maybe even you just want to create a simple app based on an Excel file. It's all about allowing business users to create these applications and these great experiences. Now, they're targeted directly towards mobile phones and tablets, and the key behind them is that they don't want people to have to learn how to code in order to build them. Now, it does help, but you can build some quite fancy applications without having to go to that next level. I might just quickly jump into Power Apps. I've loaded it up here quickly from the ribbon, and we can see here an example of apps that Microsoft is showing to us, and a whole heap of apps that we've created ourselves. Now, the idea behind it is that you create an app and then you share it like you would share a document. If I create this cost estimator app, I can then share that with other people. When they open up their Power Apps app, they'll then be able to complete it. So what I might do is I'm going to open it here in the browser. Now, it'd make more sense to show these on a mobile device, but I couldn't get that working this morning, so I'm just going to give us the web version here. And what this is doing, it's quickly compiling the app for us, and it's setting up all the connections. Now, what this app is, as you can see, it's a simple phone app, and it's reading out a list of tasks I need to perform. The ones in green have already been done. The ones in orange haven't. So I'm going to simply click on the first tile to begin my estimate. On this screen, we see some information about the client I'm going to see, but look, I've arrived. I'm ready to begin my estimate. I have some simple information I need to fill out about the length of the lounge. maybe I then need to choose, well, what sort of flooring do we want? I'm quite partial to tiles. Yep, that ceramic tile looks good. Maybe I want to add a photo. Now what's interesting is that Power Apps will natively talk to the camera on your phone or the location device on your phone. You don't have to understand how that works. All you have to do is when you add the photo control onto this screen, is say where you want that data to be stored. But I'm not going to take any photos at this point. I'm going to review my estimate. Look, I'm pretty happy with that, and so I'll just sign and I'll submit my estimate. It'll then go off into some third-party system. Maybe some workflow happens that will then generate the client or the order sort of thing. So that's the power that the Power Apps can create for us.
Really gives a nice, clean, simple interface to experience as well.
Yeah, that's the whole idea behind it, trying to make a rich experience without having to worry about how you connect to your data or how you're going to display the controls on the form. But creating the Power Apps is really interesting because we have two ways to actually do that. The first way is through the browser, but we also get a desktop application. And what I've brought up here is the Power Apps desktop application and a very simple app. This app only has 3 screens, and this was all generated for me because I just hooked it up to a SharePoint list. I created my list in SharePoint, and in the ribbon now, there's a Power App button that I clicked, and I said Create Power App, and it basically spat out this Power App for me of these 3 simple screens, where we have a browse screen that shows all the items in the list. We then have a detail screen, which is showing me the values of the selected item. And then finally, we have an add edit screen. All these screens are wired up for me so that if I was to, example, open this app, I could say add a new item and away I go.
So if you didn't have something like Power Apps, Travis, how would you sort of do that sort of thing previously?
Well, you would probably employ a developer. You might be able to get away with using InfoPath, maybe access services or something like that. There was no really simple way of doing this sort of stuff.
Yeah, certainly not stuff that's sort of mobile
friendly.
Yeah. Okay.
So you can see here that the cleanliness is a slider, whereas if you were to open that in SharePoint, it's really just a number field, things like that. But what's interesting is, okay, I've collected this data, what do I want to do with it? Now there's an interesting tool that Microsoft have released, which is called Flow, and that's where I want to move to next. And Flow is really the second half of that equation. It's what do I do with this information, or maybe it's actually a product that you don't have to use with Power Apps. It's strong enough to stand on its own. And this is really around how can we get business users to automate processes and tasks with some simple clicks inside the browser. And these are typical examples of the kind of things that you're able to do with really having zero coding experience. You're able to create a flow that maybe listens for an event to happen in that SharePoint list. Why don't we just go to that now?
So does that mean Power Apps and Flow need to go together, can go together, can be separate?
Can go together, can also be separate sort of thing. So this was my list I used to generate my app, and all I did was go Power Apps, create an app. I can do something similar with Flow, create a flow. So I'm just going to go to a flow that I've created earlier, and I'm just going to edit it so that you can actually see what flows actually do. Realistically, I put on an action that said when a SharePoint list is updated, or when an item is added to a SharePoint list, I just had to say, well, what SharePoint list do we want to listen to? I've then added a step around getting some user profile information. Maybe I want to email my manager based on items that have been added to this list. And then I just added a third task here that was around creating an item in SharePoint. So maybe we need to add a condition in here that says if the cleanliness is 2, let's create a task to someone to go and clean it up. And adding steps is as easy as add an action. So maybe I want to send. I'd like to send an email. Maybe I'd like to send a notification. Maybe I would in fact like to post something. Do I want to post something to Facebook, to Slack, to Twitter, to Yammer? We have all these integration points that mean as long as our accounts are authorized to do so, we're able to get these flows to go and add items. Maybe I would like to update something. Now I don't need to remember all these actions, by the way. I'm able to just type the word update and it's bringing me back all the different choices. Maybe I need to update some information about a customer in CRM Online. Now it's going to use my credentials to do that, so I'm not doing anything that I'm not allowed to do or that I shouldn't be doing. But when we click things like this, you just have some simple questions to fill out. So for example, in our email, it's who would I like to email? Maybe what subject I would like to have. Now I've clicked in the subject box, and this is then showing me all our outputs from the steps above. Maybe it makes more sense to say new item added and then add my title and saying a score of cleanliness. So that's all I've had to do in order to create a custom email that will send out information from that list item, which is really information collected from that Power App.
So I'm guessing some of this sort of stuff, even a guy like me who's not particularly technical, could play around with some of this and do some easy things?
That is the idea of it, is that you don't need to be fully technical to do simple things, but when you want to get really advanced and integrate deeply with some of your financial systems or other line of business systems,
I'll need someone more like you.
That's where we can help, yeah.
Got it.
Okay, the last thing we wanted to cover today was Power BI, and this is a rapidly moving, really exciting area of Office 365 just because of the business value we see people achieving by implementing it. What it really does, it's an analytics tool that allows people to dive in, discover, create their own insights, and then share those with other people within the organisation. Data is provided to you, be it from your on-premise data, or there's all these other data gateways we're able to use, and you can simply hook up your own reports, create dashboards, and away you go. And of course, there's an Office 365 group underneath it, so we're able to take those learnings and work with them deeper with other people. So just to bring up Power BI as our final example, I'm just going to go Power BI in the app launcher. And here we see a sales dashboard. This is made up of a number of different reports that again is then based on some underlying business data. These reports are interactive, so we're able to see specific pieces of information. If I want to drill down into where this tile came from, I can click on it. So now I'm in the report that this came from. I'm able to get some better information around this trend analysis. Look, I really want to filter only by this one manufacturer, and then all my graphs on the page change. So it's really about driving that individual insights. Where it is particularly strong is with this concept of ask a question. Now, I don't need to have a great understanding of how the data is laid out in order to get information from here. In fact, I can use what's known as a natural query language, and it's going to pull information back for me. So if I was to type sales, for example, it's gone away and worked out that we have some information around sales. Maybe I'd like to know sales by region. Oh, that's interesting. Maybe from a region by a category. So now the visualization we see is changing each time. I could ask for it in a table, but because we've got regional information, probably makes more sense to say on a map, right? Once we're happy and say, wow, this is a really great insight that I've found, I'm able to choose to pin this to my dashboard. So I'm just going to say pin, and I'm going to say to my sales and marketing dashboard, and that's then going to put it at the bottom of the page on the sales and marketing dashboard. There it is there. You know, so everyone else can benefit from what I've found.
That's pretty neat, Travis. Is there, you know, sometimes it's nice having a dashboard like this that you can go to and see all your reports. Am I able to take one of those Power BI reports and present it maybe in something like a SharePoint team site?
So yes, we are. We're able to get an embed code, which we can then just copy and paste onto our SharePoint team site.
So that's a bit like, I've done that I think in YouTube, where I go
if you're embedding a YouTube video, yeah, or a Word document or something like that, sort of it's very easy.
Cool.
There's just one other thing I'd like to highlight before we finish, and that's this tool that they've built in called Quick Insights. So I'm just going to hit Quick Insights. This is going to take a few minutes to run. What this is going to do, it's going to analyze all the data that we've provided in this sales and marketing data set, and it's going to try and come up with some visualizations that they think are important. So it's going to look for correlation or look for outliers. It's just a great way to try and get an understanding of what sort of data that you've got. We can then, of course, scroll through and say, oh look, there is a correlation, or the majority of urban people, the majority of the urban category prefer a certain thing. And again, we can pin this to our dashboard. So it's all about discovering stuff and then sharing it.
And Travis, does that, if I want to come into Power BI from my phone, does it respond well on the phone?
So yep, there's an app for that, as they say in the classics, that you can install an application, and it's a fully responsive that way. There's also an application for the desktop, so that some senior managers who typically don't like to use web browsers to do things, they can have a touch-friendly interface into this Power BI data. So I just want to end with where Microsoft is heading with it all. And it's really around trying to allow you to connect to whatever data you want, to have it driven by the business, to then go and deliver those productivity gains, which is back at their vision for the whole thing. So at that point,
excellent.
And back to you.
Back to me on some questions. Now we've got some questions that have come through here, Travis. I'll try and give you a head up. You ready to go?
Yep, let's do it.
So the first question that we've got here is around licensing and plans. So I might even be able to help you if you do. But on this one's specific to that Power Apps and Flow that you were showing.
Okay, so Power Apps and Flow are currently in beta. Or sorry, they're currently in preview. They've moved beyond beta, they're into preview, and they're not actually charging for that. Now they've said that there's going to be a tiered release of charges and that there would be a free version of them as well.
Okay, so does that mean it's only available to partners, or is that part of their first release ring? Or?
So if you're on the first release as part of Office 365, if you go to powerapps.microsoft.com, you should be able to sign in, and that will sign you up.
Cool. And you can start playing and reach out to us if you need some help.
Yeah.
Okay, the next question, I think we might have covered this a little bit, the mobility side of things. Does all this respond with mobility?
So yes, that's part of Microsoft's vision was to be to make everyone productive, but there's also a cloud-first, mobile-first mentality, so they've made everything look nice on the small screen.
All right.
Or like to have an app for that.
Okay, so the next one we've got here, this one's more of an integrations type question, I think I would perhaps frame this as, but does Power BI link to applications like Xero?
Yes, I believe it does. I haven't had to do that yet, but we are able to link to most data sources.
And there is something that you do need to be aware, probably relating to this question, is that there's two flavours of Power BI. There's a free version and a Pro. And if you want to connect to external data sources, that requires the Pro license, which from memory and depending what licensing structure you're on with Microsoft, somewhere around $11 a user a month, something like that.
The other thing that Pro allows you to do is to get better data refresh time. So rather than a daily refresh, you're able to get your data either streamed in or have it updated a lot more frequently.
So I've got another one here. Says, can you insert a link to a card? So this is a planner question.
Yep.
Can you insert a link to a card task in another task?
So having subtasks, I haven't actually tried it myself.
We might come back on that one. We'll get an answer in part of our follow-up.
Yeah, I think that at the area where Planner is, the idea of a subtask or a master-child, parent-child relationship isn't really part of the philosophy.
Okay, another one here, completely different. I think this one's going to be sorry but a no, but I'll let you make the call on this, Travis. Does groups work with Lotus Notes?
No, that's one thing that we did need to mention, is that if you really want groups to work well, you need to be all in. So it works best when your exchange is in the cloud as well. If you don't, you won't get the conversations. You will still get Planner, you will still get Power BI, you will still get documents, but the whole conversations thing will fail.
Okay. Good question here from Phil, just requesting, will we be able to get a copy of these slides? It's hard to remember everything. Yes, you'll get a copy of the slides and a copy of the recorded webinar, so that'll go out to all attendees. So look, we're just about out of time. So the questions that we haven't got to, we will come back to you on those shortly, but just to wrap up things quickly here, if you want to get some follow-up, there's some contact details here. Now I do see that we've got some existing people that we're working with, current customers. Feel free to reach straight out to your account manager. For those of you who don't know who that is or aren't working with us currently, please contact Elena there on the numbers on the screen and we'll get this copy out to you. We do have some upcoming webinars, a couple of these here around our Dynamics AX solutions and also upgrading your Sun systems. Relating to Office 365, if you're lucky enough to be in either Sydney or Melbourne, we're doing a much more detailed overview of Office 365, what it all encompasses, and if you're in those cities, please come along. We'll be getting a landing page up shortly on our website within the next week, I suspect. So thanks for joining us today. We really appreciate your attendance. We hope you got something out of it. As you can see, it was quite a brisk, sharp run through of those things. It's what we had 45 minutes to cover. If any help is needed, we look forward to speaking to you soon. Thank you.